So what happens when you have so much stuff that you can't even fit in your vehicle? And you already know that you're not going to fit in your vehicle, but you have so much stuff. And that's what happened to me today. So let's talk about that here on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. So got a lot of stuff. As you can see here, just 2 pallets is too much for me. And picked this pair of pallets up for, it was a little under 500 bucks after everything was said and done. But I knew that my options were to either go and get a U-Haul van, which was going to cost me every bit of 50 to 60 bucks. So you add that to ultimately the cost. So it's going to turn this $500 lot into a $560, $570 lot. Or I can say, call up a buddy who, he would appreciate maybe some of the stuff to sell locally. He likes to sell locally. You guys know Archie. And I got to tell you, let me just say that you can't put a price tag on the friends that you meet doing this stuff. I am ever so grateful that one day, I think back in 2020 or so, 20 late 2020, he reached out. Just a viewer like you, and he reached out, and he's local, and we've become really, really good friends. And he's a friend that I know that I can count on, and he's been there. So out if you're out there, Archie, watching, shout out to you. Thanks for being who you are. And it would, for some, would be like, well, you're giving away your profit, you're giving away merchandise that you could be selling yourself. But I don't see it that way. I'm going to show you right here exactly what I'm dealing with right now in my garage. Now, mind you, the stuff that I picked up today that I fit in my vehicle is not here. This is the stuff that I have accumulated over the last month or so. I think that's sort of my it has become my pain point, is buying too much. And maybe it's a reactionary thing that I'm buying so much because I don't want last year to happen again. I think I've talked about this in the live a couple times, but I found, and I'm starting to find, that the prices are going up because more people are actually in on some of these lots that I'm bidding on. And it's causing me to pass on items. That's kind of what I did last year. I passed on lots where I may have just should have paid up a little bit. And I don't want to have to pay up unless I absolutely have to, because when you pay up, the more you pay, the less you can do with your items, the less flexibility you have when it comes to selling this merchandise. I am not the guy that will spend $800 to make 1,200. I'm just not going to do it. There has to be margin in this, enough so that I'm not tied up on one item waiting for it to sell, or one lot waiting for it to sell. But this stuff has been moving very good. Last week we had our best week ever. We had a little over $4,000 week, and yesterday kind of was questionable, like a $280 day. Today, not so great, but I mean, a lot of my sales seem to happen in the evening and at night anyway. So I'm not one of these sellers that wake up to huge sales. It just generally doesn't happen. I'm finding that when I wake up in the morning, I'm finding the maybe one or two items have sold, and it kind of lights a fire under my butt to, like, okay, if you want to get more stuff sold, you need to get out here and give eBay the attention, the time, the listing. And so that's what I'm doing right now. But I thought it was important to reach out to you guys and make a video just to kind of show you kind of what I'm up against. I'm sure I'm not the only one out there that is looking at Q4 and trying to figure out what my strategy is going to be. And if I do the same thing over and over again, and I don't learn from my mistakes, and I do chalk up Q4 last year as a mistake because I only relied on the same sourcing, and I wasn't willing to branch out. And so here I am branching out. I'm finding opportunities. I just listed a Fender Stratocaster guitar. I'm not a guitarist, but this one was really sweet, and it was fun to list. When you have good stuff like this, it's really fun to uh, unpack it, clean it, test it, right? Heck, you don't want to hear me play guitar, by the way. It's horrible. But I know enough to know that hey, this guitar or whatever it is in new condition versus beat up. Like for instance, here's another liquidation item. Just happens to be in front of me. This is how they returned it. Um, Not sure if they just unboxed it, but and then just sold it to me this way. But this is a Cuisinart bread maker, and it's banged up a little bit. So I just pulled this off the pile, and my first call to action when I get done with this video is I'm going to plug this in. I'm going to test the features, make sure the buttons work. I'm not going to cook bread in it, so I can't fully test it, but I'm going to do my best to evaluate it. Now, of course, we have 30-day returns. Buyers will tell you if there's a problem, they will return it, and guess what? It'll be on my dime if this thing comes back. I'm going to either do one of two things. I'm going to either part it out. Someone might want the loaf pan inside. Someone might want a component that's easy to remove, and I'll list that. And or I'll sell this for parts or repair. Someone might want to fix it, or they can themselves part it out if they know what they're doing. And that's kind of the strategy for me, and it's been working. I been selling a number of things that I really think it's like, who the hell would want this in a broken condition? And you list it and it sits for a week or two, and finally it's like randomly it gets sold. Now, of course, you're listing it at a price point that makes it worth someone's while. So like this bread maker is probably like a $50, $60 bread maker. Maybe I'm underpricing it. I just don't know off the top of my head. If it comes back as having problems, I'm probably going to find that rather than selling this for parts or repair, I take the parts, like the pan might be worth 20 bucks, right? The bread loaf pan. Maybe while a loaf is cooking, they want another pan to, use for the next batch or whatever. I don't care to really try to understand people's motivations when they buy parts and stuff, or maybe they're just replacing the pan that dented or whatever it is. But I'm going to make every effort to make as much as I can out of every item. And I think a lot of people, I notice this, a lot of people get scared off when they see something with high value, maybe something normally sells for five, six, seven, $800, and it's advertised as broken, and they can get it for peanuts, and they pass on it, not knowing that the parts are probably worth a lot. I'll give you an example. Here's another one of these things. This is an iRobot M6 jet. Has the charging base, has the little platform for it, and of course this is the unit. This is how it was returned, and it looks to me that there may be an issue with it. I'm not quite sure, but first glance is there's probably something wrong with this. Now this unit, brand new, sells for like $300-400, I think, ish. And I see the problem right here. I think you can see some broken stuff here, but nonetheless, I'm not going to throw this away. I'm going to part out the charging port, the little stand, and then the insides. If there's a tank for the water tank's in there, the wheels, the sensors. Now, I know that these tend to be a little bit more difficult to remove stuff from the inside because they tend to waterproof these. So I may make $100 off of it, right? But my cost, if I'm cost averaging it out, what this cost me based on what I paid for the pallet, I'm probably into this for 15 to 20 bucks. So don't be afraid to sell stuff that's going to get your money back. Now, of course, you don't want to go out and buy stuff with the intention just to get your money back. That's not good business sense. But sometimes you're buying these pallets and you can only see what you can see. You can only see what they're showing you. You can see the manifest, or sometimes you can't, and you have to take a calculated risk. And I think a lot of this is calculated risks, but that takes your experience into consideration. It takes, if you have the manifest, that data into consideration. And I am a firm believer, if you utilize a method, and I have a method, it's the 40-40 method. I'll put it somewhere up here for those of you who haven't seen that video. It's been out for quite some time. Well, it basically says that if I'm buying a $10,000 MSRP lot, I'm not going to spend more than $1,600 for it, and I plan on making around $4,000, and that's kind of where I want to be. I'd like to get lower than 1,600, and I'd like to make more than 4,000. And because I'm conservative with the pallets I buy, like 90% of the pallets you buy are garbage. That's just from my experience, and I avoid them like the plague. I've been successful, and there hasn't been too many pallets where I've basically had to work hard to break even, and that's a disaster because you're losing time and money when that happens. But today, I'm not losing time and money. To me, I have one item in that lot that I picked up today that MSRP is 1,200 bucks. It's an Alpine, super fancy Alpine stereo, and upon first glance, it was in its original box, but it didn't look bad. I have to do some investigating on that. I could probably sell it for about 400, 500 in the condition that it's in, and guess what? That pays for the whole lot. And if that means that I have someone like Archie come and help me make it worth his time to give him stuff. I think he ended up getting like a Ninja grill. He got a Cuisinart air fryer, which is pretty cool looking device. I just picked up one to replace the one I have in here. Um, I wanted to make sure it was worth his while, and I kind of feel bad that I just didn't give him more stuff, to be honest with you, because time is money, and he took his time to and gas to come and help me. But you got to find friends like that in this industry. I mean, you got to get off of eBay Island. There's so much value into having friends like Archie that without people like that in your sphere, it really, it's like a cheat code to have friends like that. And, if Beard was closer, I'm sure he'd be the same way. Many times we bounce ideas off of each other and talk about things outside of the PPP podcast. And by the way, if you're not watching the Profit Playbook podcast, what are you doing with yourself on Saturdays? But nonetheless, guys, I wanted to wrap up the video, and I wanted to also let you guys know for the members of the channel, and we have I think we have about 35, 40 members. I am going to do a members only live on Wednesday today when I'm releasing this video at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And it may be something we do once a month, but I want to give it a shot because it's a more intimate atmosphere to where we can discuss our stores and maybe bounce ideas and help each other grow without thousands of people clogging up the chat and all this stuff. So something, if you're interested, you can check out. Click down below and become a member, and we'd love to have you. So that's it for today. Wanted to just share this with you, but figuring out what to do with tons of stuff that's just stacking, always in the way, working around all that stuff in a limited space. And yeah, it's something I got to work on, but not yet. It's yet another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you guys to have an excellent rest of your day, and we will talk to you very soon. Take care.